Hey, everybody, it's Shauna Griffiths, host of Real Talk by SLG Impact, and we are joined today by Malcolm Lemmons, former pro athlete, entrepreneur, and author, two times author, right? So you've got two books out, Lessons from the Game and Impact Beyond the Game. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. You make me sound a lot cooler than I actually am, though.
No, it's great. It's great. But I'm just so curious, like, your evolution and how, going from being a professional basketball player to being an entrepreneur and author. Like, what was that like? We know it didn't happen overnight, and I'm sure it came with some lessons of it, of your own. So, what was your evolution like?
Yeah, and I feel like in some aspects I'm still going through that evolution. I only
Aren't we
stopped.
all?
Right. Yeah, I only stopped playing about 4 or 5 years ago, and so for me, it was challenging. Really figuring out what I wanted to do in life after basketball. I really didn't have a game plan, and kind of fell into writing because being overseas playing, you have a lot of time on your hands, and obviously it's a new culture. You're not really comfortable going out and socializing. You can't really socialize because of the language barrier, so a lot of times I'm just sitting in my room, and I kind of use that time to just reflect and think about, if basketball wasn't in the picture, what would I be doing? And
Yeah.
I had no idea, and it just led me to put my thoughts on the paper, so to speak. And that's what led to me publishing that first book when I came back home. And that book, really just opened up a lot of doors as far as media exposure.
Oh, yeah.
And it really, allowed me to see what value I can provide to the world, and some of the things that I'm able to do outside of basketball. So the transition, I would say I kind of prepared in advance, but I think that in any regard, being an athlete, your identity is so tied to that title
Yeah.
that separating yourself from that is always going to be a challenge, mentally, emotionally, and it just takes time and patience to kind of get through that process.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like I've said I think to you before, like I was by no means, playing professionally at the level you were, but I had, when I was done playing basketball at the University of Michigan, holy identity crisis,
Right.
I had been playing ball since I was 10 years old. And then, but I think it's interesting. And I'm curious if you have felt you were able to go through that once, that identity crisis, and kind of learn from. I know it's still relatively new for you, but for me, I found it was actually something that I then transferred it to different things I would do. So when I went to run cross country at Eastern Michigan grad school, and then when I went to my career, it was like once again, I would have these identity crises when I made these big shifts. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think too often we tie our identities to our professions, and
Yeah.
even as humans, we're so much more than just what we do on a daily basis or what
Mm.
we do to make money. I think that's a small part of our lives. So it's really about understanding who we are holistically, and really just saying that our professions don't define us as individuals, and we have
Yeah.
we're people. At the end of the day, we're made up of so many different facets and multitudes, and having so many different things that we care about and that we're passionate about and that we prioritize in our lives. And so being able to separate those identities and really kind of focus on everything that makes you you, I think is really important in life in general.
Yeah. I think that's really well put. And I think it also leads me to the next thing I was curious about is some of the stuff you're talking about has a lot to do with this, the identity, the mental health aspect. And I know you've been an incredible advocate, of mental health and people telling their stories. And I'm curious, like what led you to lean to that? And really what are you trying to do with that effort?
It's a great question. I think for me personally, growing up, being a black athlete, mental health is something that's just not talked about. It wasn't talked about at all. I didn't even, really hear that term probably until I got to college. And so, realizing that certain things I went through as a child manifested itself in negative ways as I became an adult because I didn't talk about my emotions, my feelings, some of the things that I was going through that I
Hmm.
just pushed down,
Yeah.
and seeing how it was exasperated because of COVID. I started to have my own personal struggles and suffer from panic attacks, and
Yeah.
that was something that was terrifying for me. And
Yeah.
it really showed me that my mental health is something I can no longer afford to neglect. Like I need to take this seriously and start to educate myself. And so it was partially me scratching my own itch, but also seeing heightened levels of depression and anxiety within the athlete community.
Yeah.
Also globally, with just COVID isolation and just what we were going through worldwide. And so seeing this and not really seeing any athlete specific outlets out there. I mean, you have like the Players Tribune that kind of touches on it uninterrupted, does a great job telling athlete stories, but nothing that really honed in on that side of, being an athlete. And I
Yeah.
thought that it was just a conversation that needed to be had. It was long overdue. And so, what I'm trying to build with Athletes Unheard is really just a company that's on a mission to destigmatize mental health in sports. I mean, it's simple as that. So we're doing that through storytelling and a variety of different things that, we're trying to do to really have these conversations at a higher level and give
Yeah.
athletes a platform to talk about it candidly without being critiqued or judged or anything of that
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah, and if anything, to be celebrated and supported. And, I think I've had my own struggles with anxiety and panic attacks and thing. And I think, probably dating back to long, long ago when I was playing sports and stuff. And so, I just, as I've seen you do this, I'm appreciative of it,
Thank you.
personally. And, when I see people's reaction, I think you're doing awesome work. So, definitely keep it up. So,
Thank you.
um,
Thank you.
so that definitely looks to you would say the industry can do better for athletes, but I'd be curious, what else do you think that the industry could do better for athletes?
So many different things. I think that the way the world has evolved so rapidly and still it's evolving every single day. There's so many different changes that are taking place, and I think in many regards, athletes are left behind when it comes to empowering them to be successful, not only in their sport but outside of that. Things
Yeah.
such as financial literacy. Teaching athletes how to manage their money better and to
Yeah.
really understand what that entails and really just developing athletes from a holistic perspective. I think I look back on my days as a student athlete, and there were so many things that I wish would have done better, but I didn't know better. So it's
We
like,
didn't
how could you?
know. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so I think that with NIL and the
Yeah.
way that these infrastructures are slowly changing, it's gonna kind of propel these universities to provide more resources and programming around topics that haven't been talked about in the past. And I think the two pillars really being financial literacy and mental health and wellness. I truly believe that, and so
Yeah.
I'm excited for the future. I think that these changes are positive. And for me personally, I'm just trying to be a catalyst for this athlete empowerment movement that I believe is only at the beginning.
Yeah, it's so true. It's funny that you said that. Like, if I only knew then what I know now, type.
Right.
Sometimes I'm like, why didn't everybody tell me that? Why didn't
Right. Hindsight is always 2020, right?
It's so true. It's so true. Well, we're talking so much about like what goes on at the college level and at the pro levels. And I'm curious what your thoughts might be on, overtime has now come out saying that they're going to have a league for high schoolers where the high schoolers are paid. And I think I read somewhere that they would be paid, and I might be wrong, but it said they may be paid around $100,000.
Mhm.
And, I'm just curious, like, what are your thoughts on that?
I love it. I love it. I don't think it's for every athlete, obviously,
Right.
but I think that they put a lot of thought behind what this new league is going to look like. They have great backing and
Yeah.
support, and they've talked to the parents of some of these high profile athletes, and really they understand, given their connection to Gen Z and millennials
Mhm.
and what they've already built with the overtime platform. I think they
Yeah.
have a greater understanding of what is missing, when it comes to elite level athletes, and they're providing an alternative route for some of these guys, and I think it's fantastic. I think it's obviously revolutionary, and it
Yeah.
has a lot of potential. So I'm excited for it, and they're also putting a lot of education,
Yeah.
workshops and programs through it as well. So they're teaching these guys how to be elite level, athletes and professionals, and really developing them from multiple different, aspects. So I'm excited for it to kind of blossom and to come into fruition. I think that the guys over at Overtime and Girls are doing a fantastic job building that infrastructure and that system.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It sounds like they're really, helping to set the kids up for success and maybe give them some of those things that we've been talking about here that we
Right.
the industry could do better, and give them some of that so that they don't have to look back and have that if we only knew, So
Right.
that's great perspective. So before we let you go, it is tournament time, and the NBA is in hot pursuit of the finals, and the W is going to be starting. So any picks for overalls in any of the four?
I usually don't have picks, but I got picks for all four this year.
Okay, okay, go.
So for the women's NCAA, I'm rocking with UConn.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
Oh, there she's. Oh, what was her name?
Paige,
Paige.
she's a baller. She's a baller.
Unballer.
So I'm going with UConn. Can't
Okay.
count them out. Men's side, I'm a big fan of Baylor.
Okay.
The way they play defense, their energy. I just love that team, and I think they'll get it done. Um, I got the Nets for the NBA.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
right now they're loading up. Who doesn't have the Nets? So I
Right.
mean, you can't really knock LeBron. You can't count LeBron out. But
No.
I think the Nets are going to win it in the WNBA. I think the Aces. I think the
Okay.
Aces are going to take it.
Those are some strong picks. All right, I'll
Yeah.
go back to you. All right. Well, thank you so much. And where can people go to find out more information about you, to get involved, to find your book, any of it?
I'm super accessible on every social media platform at Malcolm Lemmons. Athletes Unheard is at athletesunheard.com, and my books, Impact Beyond the Game and Lessons from the Game, are available on Amazon.
All right. Fantastic. Thanks so much. See you.
Thank you, Shauna.